Cummings in Maryland. So, Elijah, it's always great talking to you. You had said last week on this show, you had asked the President of the United States, you said, you know, we can fight about what we can fight about, but you said, Mr. President, I want to work with you on reducing drug prices. Have you been in touch with him?
That's right. Yes, we talked the other day at the inaugural luncheon, and he made it clear that he wanted to meet with me with regard to prescription drug prices. So, Joe, I want to thank you all for giving that opening, and to President, I know you're watching, so I'm looking forward to meeting with you.
Willie Geist.
So can you shed some light, Congressman, on what the two of you discussed, and if you were more encouraged perhaps by meeting him face-to-face than you have been before meeting him?
Yeah, a good question. I was encouraged on this particular issue. But, you know, if I get an audience with the president, I'm going to talk about a whole lot of other issues, too, one of which has been bothering me all night, and that is this whole thing of a gag order on federal employees. As you know, our committee, the Oversight Committee, is over all of government, and we depend a lot on whistleblowers. And I just want to make sure that all of those federal employees who have anything that they want to say to Congress, because there's some confusion now as to whether they can talk to us. I'm telling you, the law protects you, and I will do every single thing in my power to make sure you're protected. Call me. I want to talk to you.
Steve,
if you got something you want to tell me.
Yeah, Congressman, it's Steve Kornacki. I'm curious, too, your reaction to maybe what your message for the president would be when you sit down with him on this issue of voter fraud. You had Sean Spicer at the press conference yesterday saying it's the belief of the president that millions of votes were cast illegally in the last election, and now, just in the last few minutes, he tweeted out he wants to launch a formal investigation into it.
Well, I would tell the president I've already beat him to the punch. Our Oversight Committee today is sending out 50 letters to 50 attorney generals all over the country who basically said that there is no real voter fraud. The thing that I worry about with this argument about voter fraud is it gives the Republicans and others another tool and another reason to justify to the public of denying people the right to vote. And there are people who have not had the right to vote. We've got people standing in lines 5 hours after the voting booth closes. That is not American. And again, the president can join me and my staff, and we will show him that there is no voter fraud. The thing I do want him to do, I want him to investigate, are all the people who don't get the chance to vote, who are being denied the right to vote. And I would give him some more advice, and that is when he talks to Paul Ryan, to ask Ryan to bring up the Voting Rights Act so that we can strengthen it after it has been basically gutted by the Supreme Court. As you can see, I'm passionate about this because this is not about Donald Trump. This is about the soul of our democracy. There are people who are worried, and all I want to do is make sure we save that democracy.
Congressman, 5 days in, what most encourages you about how the administration's going, and what most worries you?
I like the idea. What he did with regard to the unions. I'm a big union fan, working with them. I like the idea that he has reached out with regard to prescription drugs. I like the idea that during the campaign he said that he was not going to cut Social Security, Medicare's, or Medicaid. It seems like that may be shifting. But the thing I don't like is how we have gotten distracted. You all have been saying it all morning. Donald Trump, the president, can be a great president. But every time he does something good and positive, then we move over to these things that are trivial. I mean, as I left my house this morning, a lady comes up to me. She's worried whether she can get treatment for her breast cancer. I mean, on my way here, I see people getting up at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning with their kids in their arms. And going to babysitters. And my point is that Americans want their problem solved. They don't want to be talking about how many people were in a crowd one day and who was there the next day. They want to be focused because their lives depend on it. They have to live this life every day.
And that's what matters. And, you know, Elijah, it's fascinating. You talk about a woman coming up to you being concerned about health care treatment. I've got Republicans. I had a birthday party for Andrew last week. And I had a couple of Republican friends there who were asking me, do we still, I've got a pre-existing condition, I'm on Obamacare, what am I going to do? Because the health insurers in the state are dropping all of these people. And we've had so many things that we've talked about this morning we haven't even talked about Congressman Tom Price's hearing yesterday, which was absolutely fascinating. It was one of the more dramatic hearings I think I've heard in quite some time. The question of, are you going to replace Obamacare with something that makes sure that everybody that you talk to and everybody that I talk to that's getting treatment for Obamacare that couldn't get treatment in elsewhere, are they going to still be able to get that under this administration?
And a lot of these, Joe, are Trump voters. They need to understand that.
Right.
A lot of them, and they're going to have no insurance, and they're going to say, well, I thought he was just kidding. No, he's not kidding. I mean, we do not have a replacement. And what I say is work with the Democrats, work with all of us so that we can repair this. It is so important.
You talk about the people getting up at 4 or 5, bringing their kids to babysitters. That is something I think the Trump administration will be focusing on, child care. We need to get to it. Congressman, we want to take a moment before we let you go here to continue to send our thoughts and prayers to the family of your longtime congressional staffer, Katie Malone. Obviously, we know the story here. She lost 6 of her young children in a devastating house fire earlier this month in Baltimore. We know your office has been working around the clock to help this family. We wanted our viewers to know that they can help as well by visiting the GoFundMe website. I have it here for you, Elijah. It's on the screen now.
Go ahead.
And we'll put the information on our website for you. I know there's limitations to what you can do, so we want to let people know. So far, the GoFundMe page has raised over $325,000. This family, there's 2 children, I believe, or 3 that survived. 3 that survived.
3 survived. And Mika, thank you for saying that. We are now about, Katie got out of the hospital last Friday, and we're now about to enter the most painful stage of this process, and that is we are preparing to bury six children, and it's very tough. It's very tough.
All right, Congressman.
And, but she's holding up well, and thank you all.
It's always great to have you on. Congressman Elisha Cummings, we greatly appreciate it. We're going to be talking, coming up next, Elisha talked about